Chapter 1033, The Human Emperor's Palace surrenders. In the boundless starry sky, 5 figures sat cross-legged. Starlight shone on them. They were in different positions, so the amount of starlight that shone on them was different. There was a sound of them discussing something. Soon, the discussion ended. Everyone looked at Zhong. They had discussed the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment before, so everyone else remembered it. They all wanted to know the contents of the wordless heavenly book. It records a person and a secret technique, Zhong said. It's a sword cultivator from an immortal sect in the north. It said that he forged the 7 extreme heavenly sword technique. The person came up with that technique and comprehended the power of the heaven pole. This secret technique was the heavenly pole technique. It was the highest technique of the mountain sea sword sect. It's just that no one can learn it. Everyone was surprised. The power of the heavenly pole felt extraordinary. Does the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment tell you about this technique? Said Gui. Yes, but she said that the secret technique is not suitable to be taught because no one can learn it. Only one type of person can learn it, said Zhong. Who is it? Gui asked. The others were also curious. Jiang Hao was too. Zhong was silent for a moment. A person who truly understands the Tao of the sword. What kind of person was that? Who are they? Xing asked. Zhong shook her head. The one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment might know about him, but she didn't tell me who exactly it might be. After that, Zhong made the secret technique public. Everyone could see it. Jiang Hao was a little surprised that she had announced it at the gathering. Usually, no one would ask about it at the gathering. Even Gui would not ask. The one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment doesn't like this secret technique being made public. This secret technique requires a truly powerful person. If someone is qualified to learn it, the wordless heavenly book will find him, Zhong said in admiration. The one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment is really different. After she finished reading it, she gave away the wordless heavenly book. She then disappeared. I don't know where she went. As thanks, she left behind the Dragon Clan's inheritance, the Fire Phoenix's inheritance, and a divine seed. Everyone was shocked. How strong was the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment cultivator? There were actually so many good things on this trip. Jiang Hao could not help but admire her. He yearned for the divine seed. Everyone looked at Xing when she left. She only brought spirit stones with her, Star explained. It seemed that everything was brought about by her own luck. It was no wonder she did not need anything. Is she still in the academy? Gui asked. She left. Many people were enlightened, said Zhong. Wherever she goes, there will be such opportunities. Someone went to look for her, but they couldn't find her anymore. Everyone could understand that. With the protection of the Bright Moon sect, it was impossible for anyone to find her unless they were of a higher cultivation realm than her. At that moment, Liu said, recently, the Great Thousand God sect has been making a lot of moves. Thief gained a lot of benefits from the Dragon Cave. Many people died there. If it wasn't for Smiling San Sheng, they would have gotten even more. But it doesn't seem to affect their plans. I heard that the next step of their plan would be carried out in the south. The leader is Hu Yu. Jiang Hao wasn't sure about the plan of the Great Thousand God sect, but it might have something to do with the Heavenly Note sect. After all, there were people from the Great Thousand God sect there. Although the group of people had been attacked by the Heavenly Saint sect, there must be a reason for their sudden appearance. The lantern bearer warned him. After that, they talked a little more, but there was very little news about the south. Most of them were from overseas. After all, many things had happened overseas lately. There had been no news from the north. After chatting for a long time, the gathering ended. The moment he woke up in his room, Jiang Hao felt something suppressing him. The human Emperor's palace had actually found him. The human Emperor's palace had begun to exert influence on him. It was useless even if he had the leaf of concealment. Jiang Hao was shocked. However, the feeling of being bound did not seem to come from prying into the heavenly secrets. It seemed to come from his own body. It was as if words had formed a vast palace that suppressed him. Looking at the human Emperor's palace, Jiang Hao was calm. His luck had been put to the test because of the human emperor's palace. Instantly, a red light surged, followed by a green light whistling out. In just an instant, the human emperor's palace stopped suppressing him. Finally, he retreated. Then, those words formed a secret technique that triggered the secret technique of the human emperor's palace. He could use that to suppress the heavenly extreme dream pearl. Looking at the secret technique, Jiang Hao was a little stunned. The change was too fast. He had not expected it. He had thought that there would be some kind of test, so he had made all kinds of preparations to deal with all of it. However, he did not expect the human emperor's palace to suddenly retreat and leave behind a secret technique. Did I pass the test? Jiang Hao muttered to himself. You triggered the human emperor's palace? Asked a voice suddenly. Jiang Hao was shocked, but he quickly calmed himself down. It was Hong Yuye. He was a little surprised to see her sitting at the desk. When did you arrive here, senior? He asked. Are you that surprised? Hong Yuye asked. It was not really hard to guess. She must have arrived when he was in the stone tablet. Jiang Hao said, it's indeed the human emperor's palace. They know something. He told her about the gathering. Hong Yuye nodded but did not care too much. So, you plan to search for the heavenly extreme dream pearl? She asked. No. It's too dangerous. But I can give the secret technique to someone suitable, Jiang Hao said seriously. He did not want to do something dangerous, but he would help anyone who wanted it. Hong Yuye chuckled. Don't you think you have an affinity for these unlucky things? Every day, I carry some bad luck with me. Jiang Hao lowered his head. There was nothing he could do about it. The fallen immortal clan is about to find you, Hong Yuye suddenly said. Jiang Hao was surprised. However, he had already used the Heavenly Secret's hidden concealment talisman. Your talisman conceals you, but they know your location. Perhaps they are already near the Heavenly Note sect, said Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao sensed great danger. Just as he was about to ask, Hong Yuye said that she wanted to rest and lay on the bed. Jiang Hao sighed. He had a lot of questions. It seemed he had no choice but to wait for her to wake up. If not, he would have to find another way. At the human empress palace, in a secret room, Baizhu opened her eyes and sighed heavily. She felt like she was too young to bear so much pressure. At that moment, she walked out of the secret chamber. Princess, did you rest well? Qiao Yi asked. Not really, but I gained a secret technique. I wonder if it will change anything. I feel like my preparations aren't enough. I'll try my best, said Baizhu. After that, she activated the secret technique. Then, in the empty room, power gathered, and a door appeared. The two were surprised. Baizhu did not hesitate and pushed open the door. Creak. The door slowly opened. In an instant, a vast aura appeared, and a green light spread out. The moment she saw it, she was surprised. There was a dragon egg with a vast life force. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1034. You want to prepare breakfast for me? Early the next morning, when Jiang Hao woke up, the starlight had retreated, and a red sun slowly rose up the mountains. The sun seemed a little timid until it rose in all its glory and illuminated the mountains and rivers around. Looking at the sunrise, Jiang Hao sighed. He had not expected the fallen immortal clan to come looking for him. Apart from the fallen immortal clan, he also felt that there was something wrong with the heavenly extreme dream pearl. As for the great thousand god sect, they were not here for him, so it would not be a problem. The four great monsters were fine for the time being. At the gathering, there was something else that surprised him. The mention of the heavenly pole technique. The heavenly pole technique was the ultimate power of heaven and earth. It would be as boundless as the starry sky. Its power was unfathomable. The secret technique was strange and could only be understood but not explained. When Zhong told him about it, he did not get it as words but as a concept. Jiang Hao tried to learn it. He felt that he could master it. However, after learning it, there was nothing he gained from it. He could not understand it. It meant that everyone could read it in theory but could not understand it. This was not a matter of talent. Only one person could comprehend it. As for who it was, the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment understood the way of the sword. However, the Mountain Sea Sword sect might not have the person who was needed. He had not told Hong Yuye about the secret technique yet, so he did not know if she could learn it. If she did, she would be like the bright sun. Would anyone be able to withstand her? After hesitating for a moment, he decided to tell her. Presumably, she would not even care. Secondly, he had already mentioned the existence of the secret technique. If he did not tell her all about it, it would seem like he was hiding something. The situation was not right at the moment. He might have to tell her he had no ulterior motives. What he lacked the most was time. It was still uncertain whether he could advance to the 9th stage of the Immortal Ascension platform like before. It might take him another 50 years. Everything would depend on other things. As he looked outside, all sorts of thoughts flooded his mind. He had planned to appraise Hong Yuye, but he would call her 3 times to see if she responded. After the 3rd time, Hong Yuye spoke. She asked him what the matter was. He only said that he was checking to see if she was awake. When you do that, you make sure I can't fall asleep even if I am almost falling asleep. Can you bear the consequences for disturbing my peace? After that, Jiang Hao fell silent. He could only wait. It had been a long time since he had appraised her. He wondered if he would be discovered if he used his divine ability. What are you thinking about? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao stood up, looked behind him, and said, I'm thinking about what breakfast to prepare for you, senior. He did not notice her appearing beside him but could smell the faint, familiar fragrance. Breakfast? Hong Yuye smiled. Well, have you decided? Not yet. I feel that ordinary meals are not worthy of you, senior, Jiang Hao said seriously. Then, what special breakfast do you plan to prepare? I can wait. Hong Yuye sat on the balcony and waited for him to answer. He did not dare hesitate. I heard that someone from the Heavenly Note sect's Candlelight Pill Pavilion has researched a new type of food. It's said that it's extremely nutritious and delicious. I think it's very suitable for someone such as yourself, senior. Is that so? Then, are you going to help me get it? Hong Yuye asked with a faint smile. Naturally. Jiang Hao nodded. Let's go then. Hong Yuye stood up. Jiang Hao braced himself and nodded. There was indeed such a thing at the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. Rumor had it that the taste was very delicious. Many people had gone there once but had not returned the second time. There might be 2 reasons for that. It might either be expensive or maybe it did taste bad. People did say it was very tasty. No matter what, he had to go and find out. But, senior, you intend to come with me? Sure. Why not? If someone notices you, worried that you'll be investigated? I'm just worried I might cause you trouble, senior. Hong Yuye smiled and took the lead. She walked down the stairs. Jiang Hao could only follow. They followed along the river, but they did not meet anyone. Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. However, on the way, he suddenly saw a white figure floating in the water. It was the spirit beast. Jiang Hao stopped looking. That beast seems familiar, Hong Yuye said. Is that so? I feel the same way, said Jiang Hao. What kind of person do you think its owner is? Hong Yuye asked. Presumably, reckless and uninhibited. It's a future great demon. It shouldn't have a master, said Jiang Hao. Hong Yuye chuckled and did not say anything else. The 2 of them walked slowly under the sunlight. However, the sun was getting more and more glaring, and Hong Yuye frowned. Jiang Hao waved his hand, and a fan appeared in his hand. Then, the fan turned into a red and white oil paper umbrella. He held it so that the umbrella blocked the sun that shone on her. Hong Yuye continued to walk forward. He glanced at her. Senior, do you know any heaven-grade secret techniques? Like the one from last night? Hong Yuye asked. Yes. I tried learning it, but I can't, he said. But you might be able to, senior. Hong Yuye looked at the person beside her. That secret technique is far more powerful than you can imagine. Are you sure you want to tell me about it? Any powerful spell should be owned by someone capable, Jiang Hao said seriously. Hong Yuye lowered her head. No one knew what she was thinking. Jiang Hao did not mind. He told her about the secret technique. Hong Yuye did not react any other way. Do you think anyone in the world can learn this secret technique? She asked after a while. Maybe. The great era is about to arrive, and any extraordinary thing would find its owner, Jiang Hao. In his opinion, any secret technique only appeared for the person destined to use it. Just because they were not here did not mean they would not ever appear. That's true. A certain someone has already learned the technique that is said to be impossible to learn, Hong Yuye said calmly. Jiang Hao asked if there was any darkness coming from the surroundings to confirm the situation of the heavenly extreme dream pearl. However, before he could answer, they had arrived at the candlelight pill pavilion. Jiang Hao felt helpless. He was not worried that she would ask to eat that mystery meal, but he had never expected her to follow him along. It was all up to luck now. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1035. This is the answer you wanted at the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. Liao Jin looked at the pastries in the steamer and frowned. The taste is decent, but the color looks a little strange. It's very different from what I imagined. It should be yellow, not red. Maybe it's because of too much red ridgegrass? Impossible. According to the medicinal effects, the red ridgegrass will be neutralized by the earth tree fruit and eventually turn yellow. Why did this happen? I don't know if this can cover our losses. Forget it. I'll sell it with an exclusive secret recipe and a unique gimmick. Maybe some people will come and buy it. When the pastries came out of the steamer, there was a hint of white in the red. Liao Jin sighed. He had failed. He was a complete failure. Not only was the effect all wrong, but the taste was also completely different. He had wanted to make something sweet, but this pastry was very likely to be sour. With such a strange transformation, the taste must be extraordinary. He placed the items in an exquisite box. Then, he marked the price. It was 900 spirit stones per box. It was not too expensive. Just the cost alone was 800 spirit stones. It was not too much to make 100 spirit stones worth of profit. However, the medicinal effects were unknown. Who cared about it? He placed the items on the table and marked the prices. 2 people were standing in front of him. Liao Jin raised his head and saw a young man with a strong aura. He was at the peak of the golden core realm. He looked quite impressive. What do you want, junior brother? Liao Jin pointed at the pastries that had just come out of the steamer. The heavenly note sects 1 point of red. The ultimate experience. The medicinal effects are extraordinary, and the taste is unforgettable. You might not get it next time. It's 999 spirit stones. I'm selling it at a loss. 800, said Jiang Hao. Junior brother, it's not that I don't want to agree, but it's just that it's a loss for me. To be honest with you, I've been failing to make pills lately. The amount of spirit I've put into this has been too big. If we don't make some money, I'm afraid we will have nothing to go on with. If it were not for the lack of spirit stones, I wouldn't have sold these pastries at such a low price. Look at the scrumptious white inside. Who doesn't know that this is naturally formed? Liao Jin tried his best to introduce the pastries to them. Senior brother, you're short of spirit stones and I'm the only one here. If you don't sell them to me, I'm afraid you won't be able to sell them at all, said Jiang Hao. Junior brother, you. 880 then, said Liao Jin as he pretended to be sad. All right. I tricked one. Liao Jin was secretly delighted. After the other party left, he immediately packed up his stall and left quickly. He did not know who this person was. He could continue to scam him. The people who came here were all smart, and it was very difficult to fool them. Naturally, he could not let the newcomers go so easily. Just as he arrived in the crowd, he heard them discussing the selection of the top disciple. The pre-selected candidates were the 2 most outstanding people of the same rank in the sect. Basically, they were all legacy disciples. These people should not be provoked. He asked around and bought their portraits to remember them by. It was best to remember them. After a while, he managed to obtain the relevant portraits. They were enough for him to remember the top disciples. When he looked at the newly arrived portrait, he was shocked to see Jiang Hao from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Isn't that the same person who was just here? The moment Liao Jin noticed it, he regretted it. He chased after Jiang Hao but could not find him. But he could not find him no matter how far he searched for him. It was over. He had provoked a top disciple candidate. This was someone who might have a chance of actually becoming a top disciple. Senior, what do you think? Jiang Hao asked as he handed her a pastry by the river. It tastes strange, said Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao also tried it. It was sour but also a little sweet. It was soft and chewy. It was certainly something he had never tried before. There was not much spiritual energy in it, but there was quite a lot of poison in it. However, the taste was good. At that moment, they were walking downstream. They left the Candlelight Pill Pavilion and headed for the Heavenly Note Mountain. After that, they walked out of the mountain gate. Jiang Hao was a little shocked. He didn't understand why they had to leave the sect. If he was discovered by the law enforcement hall, there would be a lot of trouble. Senior, where are we going? He asked. Hong Yuye did not answer, but they soon arrived at a mountain peak. There was a lake below them. The water in the lake was stark black. The moment he saw it, Jiang Hao frowned. He felt that there were some people by the lake who had a powerful immortal aura. Is this the corpse sea? Jiang Hao was stunned and then he shook his head. No. It's the river related to the cursed tree. Jiang Hao's eyes narrowed. He felt the surrounding space distort. The lake water was expanding. Weren't you asking about it? Hong Yuye said. Do you have an answer now? Jiang Hao felt bitter. The effect of the heavenly extreme dream pearl had only begun. It was faster than he had expected. It was very likely that it was brought in by the fallen immortal clan. In the end, it was he who brought the calamity to himself. If the fallen immortal clan were not looking for smiling San Sheng, they would not have come here. Sometimes, no one could escape from suffering. For the sake of the nice breakfast, let me remind you that you need not only the human Emperor's palace but also the Shenyuan sword to deal with the heavenly extreme dream pearl, Hong Yuye said. Shenyuan sword? Jiang Hao was surprised. However, Shenyuan Tai was still undergoing the test. Could he come with the sword? Do you need the sword itself or the sword holder? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye did not answer. Jiang Hao felt that it was still too early for Shenyuan Tai to get involved. He could only wait and see. In the west, Yang Yuezhi walked out of the city. She looked as regal as ever. There was no one else on the way. Her figure disappeared and reappeared again. It crossed the longest distance. Soon, they entered the formation. They crossed a city. That night, she returned to the Astronomical Academy. The gatekeeper smiled. Junior sister Yang, you're back? Senior brother Lu, Yang Yuezhi greeted him. The other party nodded and did not say anything else. Yang Yuezhi went to the logistics department. She found a woman there. There was a man beside her who seemed to be helping her. Senior. Sang Xiu immediately stood up and bowed respectfully. Man Jiyu also bowed. This person had helped his family. He felt forever indebted to her. I was actually looking for you. Yang Yuezhi looked at Man Jiyu. Of course, senior. Please tell me what you need me for, he said. Even if she asked for his life, he would give it willingly. Take this with you. She handed Man Jiyu an exquisite box. Take it with you to the south. Don't worry too much about it. The one who seeks it will meet you and take it from you. You don't have to care about it at all. If, one day, the box disappears, it means that someone took it away. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1036. I don't want to see your face anymore. Man Jiyu and Sang Xiu did not understand Yang Yuezhi's words. Someone was using them to make a deal with her, and the said deal had already been paid for. Despite everything, they had safety and freedom. It was all possible because of that invisible hand behind them. These people were telling them that they were going to be used. But they did not have any objections. Man Jiyu was glad to be chosen for this service. Whoever intended to use them had also saved them. Carrying something for them was nothing. Whatever it was, Man Jiyu would accept it even if it was something dangerous. It's not anything dangerous or important. So, you don't have to worry, said Yang Yuezhi. It was not really anything of value. It was just a bunch of eggshells and some written words. The dragon language was engraved in her mind. If somehow the items did not get delivered, she could send another batch of eggshells, write down a copy of those words, and send it again. Yang Yuezhi turned around and left them. She walked all the way to the backyard. She did not know if the 3 seniors had returned yet. They were often away. Even the sect's elders could not find them. In the backyard, Yang Yuezhi walked ahead. She wanted to test her understanding of the spells. Under the big tree, there were 3 armchairs. A middle-aged man and 2 old men were lounging on them. It was Jing Dajiang and the rest. They were surprised to see Yang Yuezhi. Child, why are you here again? Jing Dajiang asked. I'm here to talk to you about something, elders. Yang Yuezhi bowed respectfully. What is it? Jing Dajiang asked. What could have happened that had brought her here? It was such a fuss always to be disturbed. He thought he had to leave in a few days. It was much quieter outside, and they always met interesting people. I've recently heard of the heavenly extreme dream pearl, Yang Yuezhi said slowly. Jing Dajiang, who was drinking tea, froze. Then, he sat up and smiled. So, if that's all, you can go back. I already know about that. Yang Yuezhi was surprised. I also heard that the effects of the heavenly extreme dream pearl might have started. Jing Dajiang was speechless. What? I already told her to go back and yet, she is still here. He thought. Is the information credible? He asked after putting the teapot down. Yes. Yang Yuezhi nodded. Where has it been discovered? Jing Dajiang asked calmly. In the south. The south. Again. Jing Dajiang sighed. He felt that things had been really troublesome lately. It was irrational for one unlucky thing after another to appear in such quick succession. The Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl, and the Heavenly Fate Dream Pearl. Only one of those 3 things appeared after numerous years. It was rare for them to appear, and it was even rarer for them to appear together. All those 3 dangerous things had appeared in the past 20 years. It was inconceivable. Even if the Great Era was near, it was almost impossible for all 3 to appear in quick succession. The heavens rewarded diligence, but it was impossible for mortals to diligently fight all 3 of those things together. Other than the 3 pearls, other strange things had come to pass recently. It was simply unbelievable. Jing Dajiang sighed. We were quite fond of you when you came here. But now, we don't even feel like seeing your face anymore. Every time you come here, you come with news that could blow the world apart. I hope you can reflect on that. Yang Yuezhi lowered her head and bowed to them. Then, she left. She had finished saying what she wanted to say. In Jiang Hao's courtyard at the Cliff of Broken Hearts, he used purple energy to nourish the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. So far, the heavenly fragrance Dao flower had been growing normally. Its growth was neither too fast nor too slow. He wondered when it would bud. Jiang Hao stopped thinking about the flower. He thought about the lake outside the Heavenly Note sect. The lake water had been strange. He wondered how it was in its source. Jiang Hao doubted anyone could reach the source. He was powerless. It was too risky to go there. He could activate the human emperor's palace, but what about the Shenyuan sword? I wonder how Shenyuan Tai is doing. Jiang Hao shook his head and did not think too much about it. He received news that a sect mission had been assigned. It was his turn. This mission was a test for the candidates competing for the seat of the top disciples. If he could not complete it, he would be in trouble. I haven't met anyone from the Black Heaven sect for a while. Otherwise, I could just ask them about Shenyuan Tai. Jiang Hao stood up and headed to the law enforcement hall. He had to go there to accept his mission. In fact, the Black Heaven sect had spies in the Heavenly Note sect. Jiang Hao knew one, but he did not know how to approach them. They might not even know about Shenyuan Tai's condition. I need Gui to check. Unfortunately, she doesn't owe me anything for now. Jiang Hao sighed. After a while, at the foot of the law enforcement hall, Jiang Hao checked the mission details. There were a total of 5 people chosen for this mission. He was the team leader. However, the mission surprised him. It was actually not in the Heavenly Note sect. Instead, it was at the foot of the giant peak outside the Heavenly Note sect. They were going to investigate some changes over there. Big Tree Peak. Jiang Hao thought. Isn't that the place I just saw? Maybe I am supposed to investigate the lake. He did not expect that he would be assigned to investigate the matter there. He had no choice. He could not refuse. He did not know what the task hall was thinking because he was not allowed to leave the sect boundaries. Perhaps he could ask them. Among the other members, there was Liao Jin from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion, Cheng Yuchen from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, Zheng Shijiu of the Ice Moon Valley, and Lu Dong from the Flowing Waterfall. Jiang Hao sighed in relief. Zheng Shijiu was on his team again. He met senior brother Zheng at the beginning of his very first sect mission. He had worked with him several times after that. In the past, it was senior brother Zheng who led the team. He checked the mission for other candidates and realized that they were the same. All the missions were outside the sect. In fact, Jiang Hao's mission was the closest to the sect. The others had to go very far away. From the looks of it, Xiao Li was supposed to lead a mission too. That was good too. She would finally get to go on a long journey with a purpose of her own. The mission would commence in the middle of March. The time was given for them to make the necessary preparations. After confirming that, Jiang Hao walked toward the task hall to ask about the mission. However, just as he got there, he saw someone familiar. The person had a smile on his face, and his aura was chaotic. "Junior brother Jiang, it's been too long," said Liu Xingchen. The chaotic aura on his body was completely different from before. Jiang Hao decided to appraise him. It had indeed been a long time since Jiang Hao had met senior brother Liu Xingchen. He wanted to know what was going on with him, especially since Liu Xingchen's aura was chaotic and out of control. Chapter 1037, Liu Xingchen discovered who Smiling San Sheng could be if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1037, Liu Xingchen discovered who Smiling San Sheng could be. The appraisal result was very fast. Liu Xingchen, true disciple of the Heavenly Faction. In the middle stage of the Soul Ascension realm. He was born with the aura of a dragon. He is undercover at the Heavenly Note sect's law enforcement hall. The soul remnants in his body exploded, injured his energy source, and caused chaos. The big ancient demon aura started to repair his soul and exert his innate talent to disrupt his foundation. Now, the root of the soul has been suppressed by the divine item, the soul-stabilizing needle. After 49 days, the divine item will lose its effect, and he will go berserk again. When he heard about you, he gave up on refining his cultivation and came to watch the show. His instinct told him that there was something big about to happen. The ancient dragon aura had already started healing him, and it affected Liu Xingchen. It seemed he was no ordinary cultivator. Jiang Hao was most surprised by the last sentence. In order to have a good show, he gave up on refining his cultivation. He could give up on his cultivation but not a good show. What kind of person was he? Senior brother Liu. Jiang Hao bowed. He was impressed by him. However, he also felt helpless. It felt strange to be under the scrutiny of such a person. "I heard that you were selected as a candidate for the seat of the top disciples." Liu Xingchen smiled. "Congratulations, junior brother Jiang. Are you here to take on a mission?" "Yes. I also have some doubts I need to clear up," he said truthfully. The person in front of him should be able to clear his doubts. As expected, Liu Xingchen nodded. "You have doubts because you have to leave the sect for the mission?" "Yes. I wonder how that might work out," said Jiang Hao. "I see, But the mission for the top disciple selection process cannot be held inside the sect, said Liu Xingchen. That's what we discussed, anyway. The sect will not be able to gauge the capabilities of the candidate if the mission is held within the sect. So, they have to leave the sect. That is why you were assigned a mission just outside the sect. It's closer than the others. It's obviously not feasible to send you further because you're still on the suspect list. Really? Jiang Hao understood. The irony was that the suspect list had offered him protection before, but because of it, he had to go near the heavenly extreme dream pearl. That would bring him many troubles. As expected, everything had pros and cons. The suspect list had always benefited him. However, he was facing disaster because of it for the first time. He was in a situation where he could not refuse to go. Junior brother Jiang, do you understand your mission? Liu Xingchen asked with a smile. He looked very eager, as though Jiang Hao was the main character in his show. Senior brother Liu, do you know anything about it? Jiang Hao asked. I've heard some things. Liu Xingchen pointed somewhere. Let's sit there and talk. Jiang Hao nodded. They found a bench to sit on. After that, Jiang Hao took out an ordinary tea set and brewed some tea that he had bought for 50 spirit stones. Junior brother Jiang, this tea is not bad, Liu Xingchen said with a smile. Jiang Hao nodded. He did not have to worry because he was not serving tea to Hong Yuye. Most tea leaves cost more than 200 spirit stones per pack. However, he did not drink it frequently, so he could afford it. Even 200,000 spirit stones were not enough for the things he needed to buy. He had not found a place to earn more. But he had a lot of tea leaves at the moment. Have you heard of the fallen immortal clan? Liu Xingchen asked as he sipped his tea. I've heard of them. Jiang Hao nodded. I heard that the lake water was created by them. They seem to have done that to lure out someone called Smiling Sansheng. If he enters the lake, it'll trap him. There's nowhere to hide, apparently. Liu Xingchen looked at him with narrowed eyes. I have heard of Smiling Sansheng before. It's said that he often appears in our sect. But we were unable to find any trace of him. That reminds me of something. Junior brother Jiang, do you know something? About what? Jiang Hao asked. During these 20 years, there have been a few conflicts in the sect, but we were unable to find the person who did it. 20 years later, someone is here to find Smiling Sansheng. Even the fallen immortal clan can't find him, so they have come up with a trap. Do you think these two things are related? Liu Xingchen asked. Jiang Hao was shocked. Maybe, but it doesn't feel like it. Yes. I guess it is impossible, especially since no one even knows who Smiling Sansheng is. In just a few years, that name has become infamous in the south and the overseas region. Do you think someone who was considered weak in the past might have grown to such an extent that they can now shock all 4 regions? Liu Xingchen's eyes gleamed. For him, everything was a show that he could watch for entertainment. That is a little unbelievable. Jiang Hao couldn't believe it. Yes, but sometimes, the strangest things have more probability of being true. If you just think about it, anything that is impossible might end up being the most plausible explanation. Senior brother Liu, you are very smart, Jiang Hao said in admiration. Junior brother Jiang, do you think Smiling Sansheng will go to the lake? Liu Xingchen asked with a smile. I guess so, Jiang Hao said. I heard that Smiling Sansheng is fearless and reckless. He doesn't care about anything. Even if he knows it's a trap, he might still go there. Then you have to be careful, junior brother Jiang. Liu Xingchen narrowed his eyes. It would be dangerous if you met Smiling Sansheng. He seems very unpredictable. I heard he kills people based on his mood. Thank you for your warning, senior brother Liu. Jiang Hao lowered his head in gratitude. Then, Liu Xingchen left. He did not stay for too long. Jiang Hao did not know what he was up to. Jiang Hao sighed. He was not sure if Liu Xingchen was implying something by his words, but he had brought valuable news with him. Once Smiling Sansheng entered the lake, he would be ensnared in a trap set by the fallen immortal clan. There was nowhere to hide. If that was really the case, he would be in danger. Was there anything that could fight against such a thing? It might not be enough to use the leaf of concealment or the heavenly secret's hidden talisman. I have to try anyway. He was not sure how far the fallen immortal clan would go. He could only find out after entering the lake. He had no clones or avatars. It was not possible to make one. Apart from that, he also had the divine ability, Myriad Nature Forest. What he lacked was a way to make an avatar he could control. The Myriad Nature Forest allowed him to create a likeness of himself, but he could not control it. After entering, he could observe the fallen immortal clan. There was another solution, but he did not want to use that method unless absolutely necessary. It would only invite more trouble. The method was very simple. It was to find all the members of the fallen immortal clan and convince them to return. That was what Smiling San Sheng would do. But if there were too many experts, he had to make a deal with Gui. He was no match for all of them, but Gui always was good with stealth. Unfortunately, Gui had paid him back already. If he found some information on Saint Bandits, she would owe him. It would be much easier to get her to do what he wanted after that. Time passed quickly, and half a month was gone just like that. At the end of March, Jiang Hao headed to the law enforcement hall to wait for the others. He had tried everything but had not gotten any new information. He was not discovered, and he did not encounter the fallen immortal clan. His plan might actually fail. He could only take one step at a time. He had a feeling that things would not go as smoothly as he expected. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1038, A Sect That Doesn't Stop Doing Evil. Jiang Hao arrived very early at the law enforcement hall. This mission was important to him. It was not because of the seat of the top disciples, but because of the possibility of being targeted by the fallen immortal clan. If he really entered the lake, he would undoubtedly be entering a trap. The main problem was that he could not be sure if the fallen immortal clan could lock onto him or confirm he had entered the lake. If they just wanted to confirm, he would have enough time to find an escape route. However, if they locked onto him with their power, it would be dangerous. He had to be extremely careful. If he felt that he was being spied on, he would just escape. He had to leave before the other party discovered him. After waiting for a while, Jiang Hao saw Zhang Shijiu. Senior brother Zheng. Junior brother Jiang. Zhang Shijiu looked at Jiang Hao with a smile. I heard that you made it to the competition. That is truly impressive. I was just lucky, Jiang Hao said politely. Is this mission special for you? Zhang Shijiu asked. Everyone in the sect knew about the mission that was prepared for candidates competing for the seat of top disciples. Some teams had chosen outstanding disciples. It was so that the mission was completed successfully. Yes. I hope there are no accidents, said Jiang Hao. Normally, he would only have one sect mission to complete in 3 years. It seems like the other candidates have also found worthy disciples for their teams. Zheng Shijiu suddenly stopped. Jiang Hao smiled. Senior brother Zheng, you can speak freely. It's all right. We just do what we can and leave the rest to fate. Completing it was important to Jiang Hao because the danger brought on by the fallen immortal clan was more important at the moment. The imminent danger that came with the heavenly extreme dream pearl was the worst. He had no choice but to go and take a look. Zhang Shijiu nodded but did not say anything. After a while, the other 3 also arrived early before the appointed time they were supposed to meet up. They knew that the current mission was prepared for the candidate competing for the top disciple's seat, so they dared not be negligent. Even then, they were the last to arrive. We're late. We're very sorry to have made you wait, seniors, said Liao Jin apologetically. Soon, Jiang Hao got to know them. He had met Liao Jin before. He was someone at the peak of the Golden Core realm. Beside him was a woman in black. Her lips were painted red. It was Cheng Yuchen from Heavenly Joy Pavilion. She was in the late stage of the Golden Core realm. The last was a brawny man at the peak of the Golden Core realm. He was Lu Dong from the Flowing Waterfall. Among the 5 people, 3 were at the peak of the Golden Core realm, 1 was at the late stage of the Golden Core realm, and another one was at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. The people in his team were impressive. They were all very talented. Even with very few opportunities, they would make it to the primordial spirit realm in no time. If everyone knew the danger they were facing, they would probably ask for more advanced cultivators. No problem. Let's go, Jiang Hao said. The mission was for him because he was a candidate, so everyone addressed him as senior brother. He had progressed much quicker than anyone else present. After all, he was the strongest cultivator at the peak of the Golden Core realm who was present. No one dared to address him as junior brother. This was the effect his new status had on him. Although there might be some cons to it, he had no complaints at the moment. As long as he continued to stay in the spirit herb garden of the Cliff of Broken Hearts, no one would trouble him. Since he had no intention of competing with others, no one would target him. After a while, Jiang Hao arrived at the mountain gate. It had been a long time since he had walked out of the Heavenly Note sect so openly. In the past, he had used all sorts of concealment techniques and talismans and left alone or with Hong Yuye. This time, he had no choice but to go out with a group of people. He had entered the sect when he was 5 years old, and he had barely left the sect. Jiang Hao sighed. Then, he stepped forward. He walked out under everyone's gaze. He wondered if he would get in trouble right away. He wondered if the Sunset Immortal sect had really let go of their resentment. Even though senior sister Yun Ruo was dead, her influence had always driven people to target him. She was truly amazing in some ways. It was no wonder so many people wanted to avenge her. Jiang Hao could not understand them. When he walked out of the sect, he felt like he was being spied on. It was someone in the Golden Core realm. He could not recognize the aura. He did not care about what the person wanted. He could sense people in the shadows spying on him. He had no choice. He had chosen to walk out of the sect, so he had to face anything that came after him. If he was lucky, he could persuade the people to let go of their resentment and return to wherever they came from. Senior brother Jiang, I heard that many people are going to the Dark Lake. Besides, the Divine Feather sect is keeping an eye on it. They have condensed their heavenly eye to spy on everything in the darkness and find the source of all things, Liao Jin said. Although it sounds frightening, I heard they don't completely know how to use the heavenly eye. The rumors might be a bit exaggerated. Jiang Hao nodded. The Divine Feather sect sounded like an immortal sect from its name, but it was an out-and-out demonic sect. Its reputation was much greater than the Heavenly Note sect. The Heavenly Note sect had become slightly famous in recent years. In the past, they were far inferior to the Divine Feather sect. Wherever they went, there was a massacre. It did not matter whether a sect was big or small. They had to endure whatever the Divine Feather sect threw at them. The Black Heaven sect had fought with them too and lost. That was how the Black Heaven sect was tricked by the Heavenly Note sect back then. The people who came to get their people were killed, but still, they were unable to attack. The Heavenly Note sect was a demonic sect, but it mostly kept to itself. It did not go around provoking its neighbors. The Black Heaven sect, the Sunset Immortal sect, and other sects had many enemies. The Divine Feather sect was one of them. There'll be 2 Divine Feather sect disciples joining the teams near the lake this time. We need them to lead the way. Who are they? Jiang Hao asked. Some people with difficult personalities, Zheng Shijiu replied. Jiang Hao nodded. It meant they would not be easy to work with. That was a little troublesome. If there were people who tried to undermine and sabotage the mission, that would be troublesome for him. They reached the big tree peak. There were already quite a few people gathered there. The lake had more than doubled in size in less than a month. If it continued to expand, the Heavenly Note sect would be embroiled in it within a few months. Heavenly Note sect. A middle-aged man looked at Jiang Hao and his team. This time, they were required to wear the sect's uniform. Therefore, the person could recognize them at a glance. The middle-aged man was a senior of the Heavenly Gate sect. This exploration was led by the Heavenly Gate sect. After all, they were the only major sect in the south. However, they had arrived too early. Jiang Hao sighed. Jiang Hao of the Heavenly Note sect. Greetings, senior. The others followed suit. So, your team is in the Golden Core realm? All right. The middle-aged man nodded. I'll give you 3 people. I hope you can put aside your differences and work together. If you find anything strange, you can come to this area and inform us. The reward will be the resources awarded by various sects in agreement. Every sect will give you something. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1039. Just listen to us under the blue sky and white clouds, a gentle breeze blew. There were some people gathered in the forest, and there were also temporary huts made. Flying swords often appeared in the sky. There was a bonfire in the corner, and the aroma of roasted meat wafted over. Occasionally, there would be strange figures on the branches. They seemed to be waiting for something. Jiang Hao led his team through the crowd. Now, there were 8 of them. 5 of them were from the Heavenly Note sect, and the other 3 were practically strangers. There were 2 men and 1 woman. Among them, there was a young man with a sharp mouth. He looked confused and wary of everyone, as if he was worried something bad might happen at any time. The woman was dressed in white. The sharp-mouthed young man and the white-robed woman were disciples of the Divine Feather sect. As for the young man who looked even more cautious, he was from the Black Heaven sect. The former 2 had joined because of an agreement between the sects, and the latter was just an accidental occurrence. He had wandered here by accident and was then given the task to join in and explore the lake. This person's sudden arrival caught Jiang Hao's attention. From the looks of it, he was at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. His aura was not weak, but he was not as strong as Han Ming either. It was just that this person was a little different. His talent emitted a colorful glow. He must have a special body. When do we enter the Dark Lake? Although it looks like a lake, there is actually a universe inside. The distorted space around us is extremely vast. There are even demonic beasts appearing, the sharp-mouthed young man said. His name was Zhuo Ming. He was at the peak of the Golden Core realm and from the Divine Feather sect. Not just that, but it's hard to see inside. Without us, you won't even find your way, let alone get to the source of this phenomenon, said the white-robed woman confidently. She was Gudu Jinxiu, a disciple at the peak of the Golden Core realm from the Divine Feather sect. We go in tomorrow, said Jiang Hao and looked into the distance. Let's observe the surroundings tonight and prepare. He needed to make some preparations. He also needed to use Myriad Nature Forest to test the situation. If he could not control the clone, then he would have no way of knowing what it might see or hear. However, there was no danger. If vision could be shared, it would be much more convenient. At night, the 8 of them sat by the bonfire and talked about their abilities. Zhuo Ming of the Divine Feather sect had suggested it. He said that he needed to know the abilities of others so he could make preparations accordingly. When Jiang Hao heard that, he knew that this person wanted to take the lead. He did not care. If someone wanted to step in, he would let them. As long as everything went smoothly, he had no complaints about it. He had good perception and some effective offense techniques. As the leader, it would not make sense if he was not good at offense techniques. As for his keen perception, everyone knew about it. Senior brother Zheng was good at ice spells. Liao Jin was good at alchemy and healing. Lu Dong from Flowing Waterfall was good at physical skills, and Cheng Yuchen from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion was good at enchantments. As for Li Tao of the Black Heaven sect, he was good at healing injuries. His special talent was in healing all kinds of things. He could reattach broken arms and heal grave injuries. As long as anything was not completely severed, he could make it as good as new. Everyone was surprised at that. Jiang Hao frowned. Did he really have such an ability? I really don't know anything else, but I'll try my best not to cause you any trouble. If anything happens to me, you don't have to worry. You can leave me. I'll be fine, said Li Tao. He felt nervous when everyone looked at him. Fellow disciple Li, you're really amazing. Why would you be any trouble to us? Zhuo Ming smiled. Right. We haven't introduced ourselves yet. What we're good at is actually the heavenly eye. Of course, we are also good at leadership. So, we hope you can trust our arrangement. Well, complete the mission as soon as possible. Jiang Hao didn't have any objections. Zheng Shijiao felt that something was amiss. However, he had worked with Jiang Hao many times, so he just waited patiently. If nothing happened, everyone would benefit and be happy. If there was some problem, it would be hard to say what would happen. After introducing themselves, it was time for someone to take the first watch. Zheng Shijiao volunteered to do it first. Li Ertao could keep watch after that. Jiang Hao was the last one. The two of us feel that we need our energy for tomorrow if we are to lead the way. So, we won't be keeping a watch. Thank you for your understanding, said Zhuo Ming. Please wake us if there is any danger, Gudu Jinxiu said. Jiang Hao and the others could only nod. For now, they were the most important members. After that, everyone rested. Jiang Hao closed his eyes and waited for his turn for the night watch. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes and walked toward the bonfire. Li Ertao was concentrating on his surroundings to detect any person or beast if they approached. Jiang Hao sensed that he was about to attack the moment he stepped foot near him. It's just me, said Jiang Hao softly. Fellow disciple Jiang. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was you, said Li Ertao in embarrassment. That's all right, said Jiang Hao. It's my turn to keep watch. You can go and rest. Li Ertao nodded. He then took out a fruit from his pocket and handed it to Jiang Hao. Here. Eating helps pass the time. The fruit was brown and was filled with spiritual energy. It's safe to eat, said Li Ertao when he noticed that Jiang Hao had not moved. He took a bite. See. It's edible. It seemed that he was trying to tell Jiang Hao that it was not poisoned. He then took out another fruit and handed it to Jiang Hao. Li Ertao seemed to realize that handing another fruit would still seem suspicious. But he could not just take a bite and give it to him. That would be impolite. He realized that there was no way he could prove that it was safe to eat. I'm sorry, he said apologetically and fumbled to put it back in his pocket. Jiang Hao reached out. I thought you were giving that to me. Yes, said Li Ertao. Of course. Here. Jiang Hao took the fruit and wiped it. Then, he took a bite. It was not sweet, but it was still tasty. The more he ate, the more delicious it felt. It's delicious, he said. I think so too. Li Ertao chuckled. How did you get into cultivation? Jiang Hao sat down and asked. Jiang Hao felt that Li Ertao was not really suitable to venture into cultivation. I don't really know. I remember being taken away by my master when I was young, Li Ertao said. By the time I could leave, my parents were already gone. I miss them so much. Although I know my master wants the best for me, I just want to stay by my parents' side. Before I met master, I recall my father telling me that he would take me to the city and buy me candied hawthorns. But I never saw him again. I never got to taste those candied hawthorns. Jiang Hao did not say anything. He just listened quietly. Sometimes, people had no choice over the things that happened in their lives. They had no choice. They tried to make the most of the hands they were dealt and create something positive out of it. Maybe don't give fruits to whoever you meet. People might either misunderstand or take advantage of your good intentions, said Jiang Hao. Li Ertao was confused. He did not understand. Jiang Hao did not explain further and ate the fruit quietly. His worldview was shaped by his own experiences. He did not represent everyone in the world. All he could do was warn him. He could not force his opinions on others, after all. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1040. Do you want the dragon egg? 1. Li Ertao, disciple of the Black Heaven sect. Born with a golden lotus body. He is at the late stage of the golden core realm. He grew up in a mountain village and yearned for the city but was afraid to venture out. He felt like a country bumpkin, especially when he saw the way people lived in the city with their neat carriages and posh clothes. He did not dare approach them. Every time he approached these people, he felt lost and restless. On the path of cultivation, he only had himself to rely on. He does not know too much about cultivation. Has an inferiority complex. Although he only has good intentions, he does not know how to express them. He feels that he is not good enough and has trouble picking up social cues. Under the moonlight, Jiang Hao watched Li Ertao leave. The person before him was very talented and his cultivation path had been smooth so far. He was just not good at social interaction. He had not experienced many hardships in his life. Ever since he left home, everything he did was to progress on the cultivation path. He did not know much about the outside world, and he knew very little about himself and others. It was a disadvantage to not know how to deal with people. He had yet to grow up. He had to learn enough to compensate for his flaws. It was uncertain whether things would get better or worse for him. Perhaps after recognizing his own talent, he would get more arrogant. It was also possible that he might become too sensitive and angry. He might try to get revenge on everyone who looked down on him. Being kind in the face of cruelty was the most difficult. Jiang Hao stopped thinking about him and observed his surroundings vigilantly. Many people were nearby, and not everyone wanted to enter the lake. After confirming that no one was around, a figure walked out of the seal. It was smiling San Sheng. Jiang Hao controlled it like a puppet and headed toward the lake. Soon, he entered it. It was the same as before. There was no change. Why didn't they show up? Jiang Hao sighed. After that, he made his likeness sit cross-legged on the ground. He then waited for dawn. The starlight began to dim, and the sun slowly rose. Still nothing. The figure of smiling San Sheng dissipated. In the end, it returned and merged into Jiang Hao's body. That had been enough to act as bait, but no one seemed to be fooled by it. He could only wait and take one step at a time. Early the next morning, Jiang Hao looked at the people who were already up. Let's go. It's not the right time. We need to wait until noon. At noon, we can see more clearly. It's the safest, said Zhuo Ming. All right. Well, proceed at noon then. Jiang Hao nodded. Zhuo Ming smiled. He thought that the person in front of him was nothing special. At noon, Jiang Hao looked at Zhuo Ming. Can we go now? Of course. Zhuo Ming smiled. Then, let's go, Jiang Hao said. He was not sure if the heavenly eye would wait until noon, but there was no need to clash with these people. He had many things to do and many people to deal with. He did not care who was the leader of the team at all. Then, the 8 of them headed to the lakeside. Be careful, we're only 3 meters away from the lake. When you get within 10 feet of the lake, you'll be trapped in the distorted space and won't be able to go further. When the time comes, the darkness will cover everything. Without the heavenly eye to guide the way, it will be difficult for anyone who goes in to come out of it. Listen to us, and there won't be any problems, said Zhuo Ming. If you go in and wander around, do so at your own peril, said Gudu Jinshin. Jiang Hao and the others nodded and approached the lakeside. As expected, when they were within the 10 feet range, the space distorted and darkness enveloped them. There was no path behind him. They were able to sense nothing at all. There was only darkness. Jiang Hao could only barely see Li Ertao who was behind him. What a strange place. Jiang Hao found it unbelievable. His perception was completely useless in this place. Even when he used a nameless manual, he could not sense anything. The heavenly eye could even see in this situation. It was incredible. Is everyone here? If you're here, please let me know, said Zhuo Ming. Jiang Hao spoke first, and the others followed suit. Everyone was there. All right. Fellow disciple Jiang, fellow disciple Li, and fellow disciple Zheng, please walk ahead. My junior sister and I will be in the middle. Fellow disciple Liao, fellow disciple Lu, and fellow disciple Cheng, please follow behind, Zhuo Ming said. Soon, the team was formed accordingly. Jiang Hao did not think it was feasible this way. The line was far too long, and he could not sense the others. Senior brother Zheng, junior sister Cheng, please stand to the side and protect fellow disciple Zhuo and the others, said Jiang Hao. Zheng Shejiu and Cheng Yuchen immediately stood to either side of the 2 people they needed to protect. The line of people was shorter and more convenient to reach out to. Only then did Jiang Hao feel at ease. It was safer this way. No. This will affect the heavenly eye. And you interrupted my plan, Zhuo Ming said immediately. You damaged our spell. We might not be able to see anything now. If we continue like this, we'll return empty-handed. Return to the previous spots immediately. Zheng Shijiu looked at Jiang Hao. Cheng Yuchen was in a difficult position. Liao Jin and the others were also watching. It was very obvious that Zhuo Ming wanted to take over as the leader of the team. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1041. Do you want the dragon egg? 2. Jiang Hao was silent for a moment. It's too late for anything else now. You should bear the responsibility for any accidents, Gudu Jinshin said coldly. Jiang Hao nodded but did not say anything. Then, they started to move forward. They changed directions in the middle on Zhuo Ming's suggestion. Jiang Hao allowed him to take the lead at the moment. He did not notice anything amiss, not even the fallen immortal clan spies. As he walked ahead, he felt some changes in the surrounding space. It was as if there were countless holes in the darkness from which many unknown threats could jump out. Suddenly, he noticed something in front of him. Defend to the right. Zhuo Ming shouted. There's something there. Jiang Hao frowned. While the others were protecting the right side, he realized that the thing in front of him had long disappeared. On the left, a pitch-black demonic beast with sharp claws pounced on Li Ertao. Just as the demonic beast was about to bite off Li Ertao's head, a blade flashed. The demonic beast was beheaded. Its head dropped to the ground with a thud. Jiang Hao used the first form of the heavenly blade, moon-slaying. The sudden change made everyone wary and nervous. Power began to circulate. Li Ertao let out a soft groan, as though he was trying hard to hold it in. At that moment, he did not care about his arm. Instead, he endured the pain and protected Zhuo Ming. After confirming that there was no danger in the surroundings, Zhuo Ming looked at Jiang Hao. If you hadn't changed the line, I wouldn't have been affected. I could have avoided such danger to the team. You are responsible for this. You should explain yourself to fellow disciple Li. Yes. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been affected at all, Gudu Jinshin said. I am fine. Li Ertao picked up his arm and attacked it back on. The wounds on his arm were healing bit by bit. It would not take long for them to recover. The others were a little surprised. Although they knew that Li Ertao could heal heavy injuries, they were unaware that it could work so fast. This place affected everything, and yet, the healing spell was so quick to take effect. His healing ability was amazing. Jiang Hao was also surprised. I've been affected too much today. I can't continue, Zhuo Ming said seriously. Then, they found a way out of the darkness. Jiang Hao found that it was not difficult to find a way out. However, he felt rather helpless that he could not stay longer to investigate. The two people from the Divine Feather sect were not very cooperative. It seemed they just wanted to exercise control over all the others. Today, he let them be. He sensed the stone tablet vibrating. That must be the call for another gathering. We've consumed a lot of energy this time, Zhuo Ming said after returning to rest. We need a lot of spirit stones to recover. After all, we're doing this for everyone. I hope you all will contribute a little. When the mission is completed, and we receive the rewards, we'll return the spirit stones in full. If we aren't in the right state, there'll be more danger. Then, he looked at Jiang Hao. I have 1,000 with me. Jiang Hao gave him 1,000 spirit stones. He took the lead. Although the others were not happy with the arrangement, they still offered as much as they could. With a few thousand spirit stones in hand, Zhuo Ming and Gudu Jinshin said that they could guarantee their safety the next time they went in. At night, Jiang Hao sat cross-legged in a corner. As expected, there was a gathering tonight. He had already kept watch last night, so he did not need to keep watch today. He could attend the gathering in peace. At midnight, Jiang Hao entered the stone tablet. No one noticed him in the corner. The other thought he was cultivating. At the same time, Ming and Gudu Jinshin woke up from their cultivation. They looked at each other. They exchanged smiles. That Jiang Hao seems to be too cautious. He can be controlled with just a few words. 1,000 spirit stones today, 2,000 tomorrow. We might get their valuables all for us. When they run out of spirit stones, we can leave. Only a fool would enter that cursed lake. Ming sneered. In their eyes, these people were just pawns they could use and exploit. That's right. I thought that the people from the Heavenly Note sect would be difficult to deal with. I didn't expect them to be so soft. How did such people survive in a demonic sect for so long? Looks like we might make quite a few spirit stones, Gudu Jinshin said. It's possible that he is rich, Ming said with a smile. Then, he looked at Li Ertao in the distance. There's something strange about that person. He healed so quickly in such a distorted place. He isn't ordinary. He can surpass any healing spells or treasure. I suspect he has a divine treasure on him. Let's go and try to get it. All right. If you get it first, you take it, said Gudu Jinshin. They felt that the team was under their control. It would not be a problem even if they killed him and stole the treasure. It would be just as easy to make it seem like a demonic beast had devoured him in the darkness, especially when he was already injured. With the heavenly eye, they could do anything. The two felt a little smug. After a while, they appeared in front of Li Ertao. Fellow disciple Li, how are you healing? When Li Ertao saw them coming over, he stood up and greeted them. It's going well. Is that so? Ming smiled. Is your healing ability innate? Yes. Master said I was born with it, said Li Ertao truthfully. Then, he wiped 2 fruits and handed them to the 2 people. Do you want some fruit? No. I'm not eating that, said Gudu Jinshin with disdain. Li Ertao forced out a smile and then withdrew his hand. Ming did not care about that. Instead, he asked, by the way, can you recover from any kind of injury? Or do you need something to aid in your healing? I don't know. Li Ertao shook his head. Then, can we give it a try? Perhaps I can help you find out the reason, Ming said gently. Give it a try. How? Well, I'd have to hurt you to see how you heal yourself. No. Li Ertao shook his head. Master said that it shouldn't be done that way. Ever. Ming nodded with a smile. He was not surprised. Then, he looked at the fruit in Li Ertao's hand. Can I eat that? Li Ertao was surprised, but he was happy. He felt that Ming was similar to Jiang Hao. He handed him the fruit. Ming took a bite. Then, his face changed. He looked furious. You poisoned me. He did not give Li Ertao any time to respond. He slashed with his long sword. Li Ertao's arm, which had just healed, was severed again. Gudu Jinshin also attacked. The aura of the peak of the Golden Core realm pressed down on him. As a late-stage Golden Core realm cultivator, Li Ertao had no strength to fight back. His other arm was also cut off. Jiang Hao arrived at the public area. He did not see Senior Dan Yuan this time either. It was a little surprising that he had been absent twice in a row. However, the gathering had been held so soon after the last one that Dan Yuan might not have had the time to finish whatever he was doing. I encountered something troublesome, so I asked Senior Dan Yuan to start a gathering, said Gui. Does it have something to do with the human emperor's palace? Xing asked. Yes, and it's related to you, friend Jing, said Gui as she looked at Jiang Hao. I used a secret technique and successfully entered the dark area. Then, I made a major discovery. Gui paused, as if she was waiting for someone to ask her to go on. What did you find? Liu asked. A dragon's egg, said Gui. I found a dragon's egg, and it's alive. It seems like it's going to hatch at any moment. Everyone was shocked. Dragon's egg. Jiang Hao was also shocked. There was a dragon's egg which had not hatched until now. How was that possible? It seemed that this dragon's egg was extraordinary. It was no wonder it could not be snatched away. This dragon's egg rejects me. I can't leave the palace with it, but it doesn't want to come with me either. Do you want me to try again? Gui asked. Everyone was surprised. Gui was one of the most powerful people in the gathering. Who does this egg belong to? Zhong asked. Jiang was the one who had sent Gui on that mission. Friend Jing, do you want it? Asked Gui. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1042, Using the Dragon Egg to Exchange for the Shenyuan Sword. 1. A dragon egg. It was indeed a great opportunity to own a dragon egg. There were many benefits to it. If one could establish a bond with it, it would be even more useful. A true dragon's aura would be a great help for cultivation. Cheng Chou had benefited a lot from Xiao Li's aura. She was even trying to win to earn some resources to help him further. However, it did not benefit Jiang Hao at all. Although Xiao Li was also a true dragon, she was more human than a dragon at the moment. An ordinary true dragon would definitely hatch with a dragon's body. Will you be able to take it out of there? Jiang Hao asked Gui. It won't be easy, but you have to help me pass a test, said Gui. Pass a test? That left everyone confused. They did not know what kind of test she was talking about. Gui herself did not understand it well enough. The belief in the human emperor's palace is basically for the sake of the world. Maybe you can start with that, Gui, said Xing. Other than that, there should be something else to reveal your identity there, said Liu. Perhaps a token from the Shenyuan clan might help. A dragon clan's token might help too. Zhong lowered her head in thought. You can try the dragon language, she said. I have a passage here with me, and I don't know what effect it might have. Gui decided to try them all. She did not have a token from either the Shenyuan clan or the dragon clan. There's another way, Jiang Hao suddenly said. There's a secret technique that can activate the human emperor's palace. Gui and the others in the gathering were surprised. No one had heard of anyone except the human emperor being able to trigger the human emperor's palace. Secret techniques might not be able to trigger the human emperor's palace, said Xing. According to my understanding, things like the human emperor's palace can't be activated by others, not even with secret techniques. But secret techniques often work when you have to prove your identity. Gui understood. For example, if she could hold the Shenyuan sword, it did not mean she could use it. But it surely proved that she was on the human emperor's side. The secret technique could work in a similar way. Friend Jing, what do you want in return for the secret technique? Asked Gui. Taking the dragon's egg out of the palace was just because it was convenient. It was not a task assigned to her. Could you curse all the members of the fallen immortal clan who are near the Heavenly Note sect right now? Asked Jiang Hao. He had no names, and Gui was not out of the palace yet to be able to curse them all. He could only tell her to do it whenever she could. He did not have much time left. A regional curse. Gui paused for a while. That isn't difficult, but I don't know how effective it might be. If the human emperor's palace could help in some way, the curse would be stronger. The human emperor never got along with the fallen immortal clan, after all. I can test it out. Gui thought it was a good idea. If she targeted the fallen immortal clan, it would show the human emperor's palace that they had a common enemy. It could prove that she was on the human emperor's side. That way, she could pass the test. Xing, are you back in the east? Xing shook his head. I heard that the Clear Sky School's members are overseas. Some of the heavenly kings wanted to cooperate with them, but they didn't have any luck, said Liu. It'll be tomorrow afternoon. In Colored Glass Island, said Xing. Liu nodded. I heard that the people from the end of all things know that the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment is in the west. They will take a huge submarine to the west and pass by the north coast of King Taoma's domain. Xing nodded but did not speak. The people of the Astronomical Academy know about the existence of the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl, Zhong said. I don't know if my luck is good or bad. I'm not sure about the surrounding situation at all, Gui said. Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, they had reached the topic he wanted to discuss the most. The Dark Lake has appeared outside the Heavenly Note sect. I think it'll devour everything if it is left unchecked. The danger was too great, so Jiang Hao needed the immortal sects to know about it. There was still some hope. No matter how slim the hope was, he would have a shot if the immortal sects knew about it. They would come up with a solution even if they had no other way, but they did not know how long it would take. Everyone was shocked. Things were happening too fast. Baizhu did not want to leave the human empress palace for a moment. She wondered if it was safer inside than outside, after all. The place here was full of the human empress power, divine souls, and dragon eggs. It was hard to say how long it would last, but this was definitely the strongest place in the south. Looks like the changes are far beyond our imagination. Isn't it so sudden? Xing asked. Jiang Hao shook his head but did not elaborate. Although the fallen immortal clan was responsible for it, they had prepared the trap for him. The entire matter was connected to him. "I'll inform them again," Zhong said slowly. She had not expected to go to the backyard so soon again. "Is there a way to suppress it?" Liu asked. "Maybe with the dragon egg," said Jiang Hao after a while. Everyone was shocked. Then, they looked at Gui. "Why are you looking at me? I can't get it out." Gui thought. "I'll see if I can get it out," she said. She was still young, but destiny made things difficult for her. She could not do anything she wanted. She was always forced into all sorts of dangerous situations. 18 was the best age for some things and the worst for other things. They did not talk much after that. They talked about recent developments around them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1043, Using the Dragon Egg to Exchange for the Shenyuan Sword. 2. The core member of the End of All Things was still in the deep sea. There was no news about them. The Great Thousand God sect was moving south. The Saint Bandits had been quiet lately. It seemed that they had gained a lot of benefits. At night, the moonlight shone on the forest. Jiang Hao slowly opened his eyes. It was not an excuse to say that the dragon's egg was needed to suppress the heavenly extreme dream pearl. He thought it would be really useful. He wanted to use the dragon egg to find Shenyuan Tai. Perhaps he could borrow the Shenyuan sword. The Grand Earth Emperor needed the support of the dragon clan. If Shenyuan Tai could raise a dragon, it would be great. His future was limitless. If he gave him the dragon egg, perhaps Shenyuan Tai would let him borrow the Shenyuan sword. He could return it after he was done. He had given Gui the secret technique. He hoped it helped her. If she could find the time to curse the fallen immortal clan, it would naturally be for the best. It would buy him some time. Zhong would inform the immortal sect. After that, it would all depend on the immortal sects. Unlike before, the immortal sect might not be able to intervene quickly. This was an object that the human emperor had sealed back in the day. No one knew about it except the dragon clan. It was completely different from the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl. As for the other matters, he had to put them aside for the moment. He just needed to deal with the problem at hand. He could not delay the exploration any longer. He understood a little bit about what was going on inside. If he could just go in and investigate, he might be able to find where the pearl was. Of course, this time, he would not be taken by surprise. Just as he thought everything was sorted, he sensed something. Immediately after, senior brother Zhang arrived where he was. "Something has happened, junior brother Jiang," said Zhang Shijiu. Jiang Hao nodded and stood up. He followed senior brother Zheng. After a while, they saw Liao Jin and the others. When they saw Jiang Hao coming over, they stepped aside. Jiang Hao looked ahead and saw Zhuo Ming and Gudu Jinshin staring at the ground with their swords in their hands. They looked eager. There was blood on their swords. There was a man on the ground with his limbs torn off. His neck was bleeding. Although he was healing, he was in extreme pain. He struggled and tried to crawl toward his severed limbs. It seemed he wanted to reattach his limbs to his body. However, Zhuo Ming kicked him. Zhuo Ming and Gudu Jinxin's excited voices echoed. "What's the matter?" The two of them noticed Jiang Hao's arrival, but they only glanced at him. Jiang Hao asked, "Who did this?" He was referring to Li Ertao's condition. "We did," Zhuo Ming said without hesitation. Why? Jiang Hao asked calmly. The fruit he gave us was poisonous. We suspected that he was the demonic beast in disguise from the Dark Lake. So, we had to make sure, said Zhuo Ming. The fruit wasn't poisonous, said Li Ertao from the ground. Jiang Hao ignored him and looked at Zhuo Ming. Did you find what you expected? Is he the demonic beast then? We aren't completely sure. We're still checking, said Gudu Jinshin. Tell me, how do you confirm it? Jiang Hao asked. You don't have to worry about that, Zhuo Ming said. Jiang Hao looked at the fruit on the ground. He then picked it up. This fruit isn't poisoned. It is poisoned. We ate it, so we know. If you say otherwise, then maybe you are in league with him. We have reason to believe you have been affected by the demonic beast too, said Zhuo Ming. Do you still say it's not poisonous? Jiang Hao looked at the person in front of him but did not say anything. Liao Jin and the others were watching from behind. They wondered how Jiang Hao would deal with this. Fellow Daoists were, why are you getting so heated up? Jiang Hao asked. I heard that this mission is very important to you, said Zhuo Ming. Without us, you're destined to fail. If I say this fruit is poisonous, then it is. Zhuo Ming smiled. What do you think now, fellow disciple Jiang? Jiang Hao looked at him. What if the fruit isn't poisonous? Then, I'll apologize to fellow disciple Li. I think he'll forgive me, but you might lose your life in the Dark Lake without our protection, disciple Jiang, said Zhuo Ming. Maybe you're right. Jiang Hao calmly stepped forward and appeared in front of Zhuo Ming. Zhuo Ming was shocked. Before he could react, Jiang Hao slashed with his scabbard and hit him squarely in the face. Zhuo Ming was sent flying. The pain made him furious. With the demonic sound slash technique, Jiang Hao appeared by Zhuo Ming's side and grabbed his arm. Then, he twisted it hard. There was a crack, and Zhuo Ming's arm was broken. Blood splattered everywhere. He screamed in pain. He attacked with his other hand. However, Jiang Hao caught it. He broke the other arm too. Zhuo Ming's face twisted in pain. His cultivation, which was at the peak of the Golden Core realm, could not shake Jiang Hao at all. At that moment, the scabbard hit Zhuo Ming again, and he fell to the ground. Everyone was surprised. It happened so fast. Gudu Jinshin turned around and fled. Zheng Shijiu was the first to attack. However, his cultivation realm was not high enough, so he was forced back by a single strike. Jiang Hao looked at Liao Jin and the others. They shuddered, then went after Gudu Jinshin. After a while, Zhuo Ming and Gudu Jinshin knelt in front of Jiang Hao. Zheng Shijiu and the others watched from afar. They did not dare to get close. We are all here to complete the mission. Why must you do something like that? Jiang Hao asked. Yeah. We're all here to complete the mission. So, of course, we'll prioritize the mission, said Zhuo Ming with difficulty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1044, Using the Dragon Egg to Exchange for the Shenyuan Sword, 3. Before Jiang Hao could say anything, Zhuo Ming continued, My life is worthless, but yours is more important. You are the strongest among your peers and will be the future top disciple. But can you complete this mission without us? Then, you won't help me. Jiang Hao asked softly. Beg me first, then I'll consider, said Zhuo Ming smugly. What about you? Will you help complete the mission? Asked Jiang Hao and turned to Gudu Jinshin. Beg me for help, Gudu Jinshin said. Jiang Hao looked at Zhuo Ming again. He unsheathed his half-moon blade and placed it at Zhuo Ming's neck. Then, he pressed it down. Blood began to flow. I don't think you have the guts to kill me, said Zhuo Ming. The blade cut deep, and blood flowed. Zhuo Ming cried out in pain. He still did not believe that Jiang Hao would kill him. However, he was bleeding profusely, and it was making him feel weak. He was afraid. I'll help you, he exclaimed weakly. Thank you for your hard work, fellow disciples were, said Jiang Hao calmly. First, please help me heal, he said. Before he could finish his sentence, the blade flashed. Minut's vision blurred. Soon, his head was severed from his neck. It was unbelievable. He did not get long to regret his decisions as he dropped dead. When Gudu Jinshin saw that her senior was dead, she trembled in fear. She was ready to do anything. Please. I'll agree to all your demands. Please spare my life, she said pleadingly. I forgot to tell your senior brother something before he died. Make sure you're less devious and more cooperative in your next life, said Jiang Hao as his blade flashed. She only saw the flash of the blade as she dropped dead the next moment. After that, Jiang Hao picked up their storage treasures and walked toward Li Tao, who was still healing. He handed the storage treasures to him. They wanted to apologize to you and have left this as compensation for treating you that way. I hope you can forgive them. That's all right. I don't blame them. You can give that back to them, said Li Tao. Jiang Hao didn't take the storage treasures back. They left. Li Tao was far away to see what had happened to Ming and Gudu Jinshin. He was just glad that the misunderstanding had been resolved. Jiang Hao did not say anything. Some things would get worse if they were not handled as soon as possible. He had thought that these people were just trying to take the lead. He had not expected them to be so brutal. They had no intention of completing the mission at all. If they were the disciples of the Heavenly Note sect, it would not be like this. It seemed that he could not use his usual method of dealing with difficult people. Junior brother Jiang, do you have a plan? Zheng Shijiu asked worriedly. We rest today. Then, we go in tomorrow morning, said Jiang Hao. Zheng Shijiu nodded. He did not think too much about it. Based on what he knew about Jiang Hao, he would not take unnecessary risks. The others did not dare to say anything. The candidate for the seat of the top disciples was indeed something else. Those who were in the same rank were of no match at all. Early the next morning, in the astronomical academy, Yang Yuezhi looked at the sky as she walked to the backyard of the academy. However, just as he was about to step into the backyard, the threshold seemed to move backward. She tried to step ahead but could not. It seemed she was not allowed to enter. Yang Yuezhi was speechless. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1045. Can Jing control the Human Emperor's Palace? In the Human Emperor's Palace, Baizhu sat in front of the dragon egg and looked at it very closely. Finally, she sighed. I won't leave you here all by yourself. What a delicate egg. She thought that the dragon inside must be a female dragon. Princess, what do you plan to do? Qiao Yi asked. They had tried every method, but they could not leave the hall with the egg. Although the place was huge, they were not allowed in many areas. There were many useful and magical things here. Everything seemed to be prepared for the dragon egg. Unfortunately, the egg did not hatch. To Qiao Yi's surprise, Princess Baizhu only took 2 items of decent value. She did not touch the rest. There were dragon inheritances, Dharma treasures, and true dragon's bone sword, but she touched none of it. I have a new method, but am thinking about which one to use first. Baizhu sat down. She could not pass the Human Emperor's test nor the Dragon Egg's test. She could only use other people's methods. She was curious if Jing had returned to the south. If so, was he being tested? She suddenly remembered the secret technique to activate the Human Emperor's Palace. Jing never mentioned it before. Could it really work? She thought. Baizhu felt that it was unbelievable. She did not even know there was a secret technique. If it did work, then the secret technique would definitely prove that she was on the Human Emperor's side. She had a feeling that everything was connected, and it all led to Jing. Whether it was the rise of the Shenyuan clan, the release of the Saint Bandits, the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment, or everything else that had happened, Jing had always been involved. It was the same with the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and the Earth Extreme Dream Pearl. Was the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl part of Jing's plan? Baizhu shuddered as she thought about it. If that was really the case, then everything that had happened and would happen was all because of him. From the day Jing entered the gathering, The gears of fate had begun to turn. "Princess," Qiao Yi called. "It's fine. I was distracted. Now, let's try the most effective method." After Bai Zhu sat down, she began to remember the secret technique. This secret technique required him to enter a state of concentration to perceive the human emperor's palace. Even if she could not use it completely, she could use a part of the secret technique to activate the palace. Then, he would use the power of the human emperor's palace. Qiao Yi did not ask any more questions. She stood guard to protect the princess. Her power was not as great as the Golden Core realm cultivators she had met in the West, but she was still powerful enough to protect the princess. Those 3 Golden Core realm cultivators were something else. At that moment, Bai Zhu felt empty. Since she was in the human emperor's palace, she could vaguely sense the emperor's presence here. Then, the secret technique began to circulate. It resonated with the power of the human emperor's palace. She saw a majestic palace unfold. Bai Zhu was overjoyed. She continued to use the technique. However, the human emperor's palace suddenly stopped in the air. In the end, it disappeared. Bai Zhu was hit by a golden light, and all she felt was the vast emptiness. She flew backward with the impact and fell on the floor. She was disheveled. Fortunately, she was not injured. How brutal. Bai Zhu lay on the floor. This was just too much. She was still a young girl, and the human emperor's palace might be centuries old. "Princess, are you all right?" Qiao Yi helped Bai Zhu up. "I'm fine." She waved her hand dismissively. She suddenly froze. The suppressive power of the human emperor's palace had disappeared. "I think I passed the test." Although she didn't know how she realized that she had indeed passed the test. She was in a daze. Then, she walked in front of the dragon egg and tried to touch it. Although she was still not welcome to it, she was not rejected by it like before. As expected, Jing must have obtained the secret technique recently. Otherwise, how could I have worked? She thought. Xing is right. The secret technique cannot be used to activate the power of the palace. Then, is Jing the key? Bai Zhu speculated but had a bad feeling about the whole thing. After passing the test, all she had to do was go out. At the very least, she had to send the dragon egg to the Heavenly Note sect. After some thought, she decided to curse the fallen immortal clan first. She bowed. "Dear ancestors, if you can hear me, I, your descendant, want to go against the fallen immortal clan. I hope you can help me." There was no reaction. However, a prayer was a prayer. At daybreak, Jiang Hao looked at Li Ertao. He had almost recovered fully. There were only 6 people left in the team. However, no one would cause trouble. Liao Jin and the others felt uneasy. Without the heavenly eye, they were not sure if they could find their way out. Liao Jin sighed wearily. Perhaps Jiang Hao had acted too recklessly. In his opinion, the best course of action was to endure things if the other party had the advantage. Once they had what they needed, then they could make a move. They did not have the heavenly eye anymore to guide them. They will have to face the danger head-on. He did not dare to voice out his thoughts. The woman from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion lowered her head and sighed. Jiang Hao looked at everyone and understood what they might be feeling. He was willing to go into the lake alone. However, this was a group mission, so everyone had to participate. Things did not go as they planned in the world. It was normal for sudden hiccups in their plan. They had no choice. Like Jiang Hao, they were obligated to complete the mission. There was nothing they could do. "Let's go," said Jiang Hao. They nodded and followed him. When they arrived at the lakeside, Jiang Hao frowned. The lake had become larger. He had to figure things out quickly, but he was not sure if the fallen immortal clan would give him enough time. "Be careful," he said. Everyone had gone in once, so they had some experience. "Senior brother Jiang, we don't have the heavenly eye. What should we do after we enter?" asked Cheng Yuchen from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. "My perception is sharp. Just follow me." "We'll figure it out later," said Jiang Hao. After that, they disappeared into the lake. The space distorted, and darkness enveloped everyone. Meanwhile, the members of the fallen immortal clan watched. They were stationed around the trap they had created. Countless formations were set up all around the lake. They all pointed to one person. Their target was Smiling San Sheng. They could not find Smiling San Sheng directly. They would be satisfied if they found something related to him near the Heavenly Note sect. Ripples appeared in the lake. Seems like he has gone in. Activate the altar. This time, we have to be able to spy on him, no matter the cost. The middle-aged man looked determined. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1046. Misfortune arrives overseas. A huge ship emerged from the bottom of the sea in the northern harbor, and many people boarded it. After some time, it began to sink back into the deep sea. The ship was huge, and there were formations surrounding it. It was fearless of all undercurrents and swept away the demonic beasts at the bottom of the sea. However, not long after the ship set sail, two people were in the deep sea. They stood in the sea and looked at the ship. The surrounding seawater seemed to move because of them. One of them gave off a feeling of vastness. It was as if he was stepping on the earth and carrying the moon on his shoulders. The moment the helmsman saw the two of them, he immediately sounded the alarm. There was no need to think too much about it. How could they expect the people who just set sail to be kind? After the alarm sounded, the sea began to surge. An invisible hand controlled everything. The giant ship was under immense pressure. At that moment, the sea was calm, and the sky was clear. Occasionally, birds landed on the surface. However, just as the bird left the sea surged, and huge waves formed. A huge ship was propped up from the bottom of the sea and flew into the sky. After that, it received the light of the sun, moon, and stars. Then, it shattered. The people inside were either dead or injured. Then, two figures appeared on the surface of the sea. A woman held a pearl in her hand and looked at Gao Tian. This is the sea area of Heavenly King Taomu. I can't stay here for long. I can only help you a little. Thank you. I will personally deliver the items in 2 days, Shu Bai said softly. They did not seem to care about Gao Tian's situation. At that moment, the starlight fell, and the people on the ship were killed bit by bit. According to my investigation, this ship is filled with people from the end of all things, but ordinary people have no way of knowing that they are inside. The woman looked at Shu Bai. You don't have any connections overseas, and I don't know if this information is accurate. And I believe you have an unusual cooperation with the Heavenly Tower? Shu Bai smiled and did not answer the question. The Heavenly Tower has a certain understanding that the 12 Heavenly Kings are trying to be immortals. They seem to have a special information channel. The woman looked at the man in front of her. If you have such news, tell me immediately. Whatever you need, we can talk about it. Do you want both good and bad news? Shu Bai asked. Yes, both good and bad. Of course, I already know that under normal circumstances, the 12 Heavenly Kings cannot become immortals, the woman said. Yes. Shu Bai nodded. If there's any news while I'm still overseas, I'll inform you immediately. In that case, I'll tell you a piece of news in advance, said the woman calmly. The end of all things has spied on the ancient land in the deep sea. Perhaps it won't be long before the core members appear. It might be a problem for you. Besides, the people from the Great Thousand God sect have gone to the south. It's one thing to look for the lantern bearer, but what they really want to find is a battlefield. As for the location, we don't know it. But they are anxious to find it. Thank you. Shu Bai thanked her. In the south, Jiang Hao felt the visibility getting worse in the darkness. The people around him also noticed it. Is it because I don't have the heavenly eye? I feel that the distance is further than the last time, said Lu Dong of the flowing waterfall. I don't think so. Liao Jin thought for a moment and said, did you notice that the lake became bigger? The influence is also stronger. That's why the visibility is not as good. But at least we know where the path is. Everyone looked at Jiang Hao and saw him squatting on the ground. Jiang Hao wanted to leave a mark as a backup plan. Senior brother Jiang, Where should we go now? Asked Cheng Yuchen from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. Jiang Hao looked ahead. In his opinion, even the heavenly eye would not be able to see the path ahead. Perhaps it was possible to see from the front, but it definitely did not work from the back. Even experts were unable to use the heavenly eyes properly. The water led to the heavenly extreme dream pearl, which was similar to the blood pool. Even Jiyu Jin might not be able to find his way here. Even if they could illuminate the path ahead, they might not be able to reach the end. Darkness was everywhere. Since there was no way to avoid it, they would carry the lamp and move forward. Jiang Hao took out the small lantern that the lantern bearer had given him. When the lantern appeared, the people felt strange. This lantern looked like any ordinary lantern. Li Ertao asked, "Lanterns shouldn't work here, right?" "Don't be jumpy," Zhang Shijiu said. "Let's see." The others guessed that Jiang Hao was probably relying on Dharma treasures. However, if the magic treasure was useful, someone might have discovered it. Jiang Hao held the lantern in his hand. He was surprised. It did not light up the surroundings. He recalled the lantern bearer and closed his eyes. In an instant, everything seemed clearer. "Close your eyes," he said. He could not see the others behind him. Then, he opened his eyes again. At that moment, he saw senior brother Zheng and the others again. They were in the same place where they had been. "Close your eyes," he said again. The others were puzzled, but they closed their eyes. In the next moment, they could see everything clearly. There was a pitch-black river by his feet, and there was mud and stones around them. "Don't open your eyes. Just follow me," Jiang Hao said after confirming that everyone was present. Liao Jin and the others were shocked. They did not know what was going on, but they were sure that they were on the right path. At that moment, they understood why Jiang Hao killed those two people without hesitation. They had no value at all. Jiang Hao, who saw everything, held the lantern and shone it over the path. He realized that the water had become much clearer under the illumination of the lantern. There were some human faces in the water. They stared at the group. Cheng Yuchen was so frightened that she drew her sword. The others did the same. They were all shocked. "Let's go." Jiang Hao was as calm as ever. He silently put away the lantern and continued forward. "Let's go. Try not to get close to the river." He was certain that the sneak attack had something to do with the face in the river. The journey was uneventful. Nothing happened. It was as if they were walking in the same spot endlessly. The endless darkness made people feel nervous. It made them irritable. He felt that attacks would come out of the dark at any time. The darkness would make them their enemies. Their lives would be like a crack in the void if something attacked. Jiang Hao was calm. Just as he was about to speak, he raised his head. He felt that someone was approaching. The fallen immortal clan was coming. It was a little too soon. In the forest outside, there was a roar. Lightning flashed somewhere. At that moment, the people of the fallen immortal clan emitted a vast aura. The altar was active. The old man in the middle said, "I think I almost see him." For a moment, the surrounding people circulated their power to see whether they could see the person they targeted. Boom! The sound of thunder grew louder. Just as the old man was about to see it, thunder lit up the sky. Rumble! The thunderbolt fell and hit a big tree with a bang. The tree collapsed. The power of lightning followed the water and exploded into lightning. A corner of the formation at the side was split open. The old man, who was about to open his third eye to see, was stunned. The third eye began to close. The other party's traces gradually began to disappear. How did this happen? "No. I have to see it," he shouted anxiously. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1047, Passage to Heaven. The people of the fallen immortal clan could sense that something was wrong with the altar. They found the problem. They cast a spell to repair it. However, the moment they successfully cast the spell, the ground under their feet collapsed. Some of them fell into the formation, and everything became chaotic. "What are you doing?" The middle-aged man flew into a rage. A portion of the formation patterns were thrown out. In just a few short breaths, the formation was damaged. The third eye on the old man's forehead closed completely. He looked around and could feel an invisible aura wreaking havoc everywhere. A curse. This is not an ordinary curse. It's targeted at us. Who dares to protect the fallen immortal clan? The old man was furious. He could not find smiling San Sheng, but he was being cursed. At that moment, he activated the remaining array formations and began to probe the source of the curse. These curses were like strings to him. He needed to just follow the direction in which it led. In just a short while, they found the source. The third eye opened and began to pry. He opened his eyes, but the moment he saw the source, his eyes narrowed. A vast palace came into view. There was a stone statue at the front of the palace. He stood with a sword in his hand and looked ahead. Behind the stone statue stood rows of divine soul after images. They were not only humans, but also demons, ghosts, and so on. Everything looked at him. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. It could even break through the clouds. The next moment, the palace shook. Before the old man could recover from his shock, his third eye shattered. The entire crowd vomited blood. He looked at the person beside him and slowly opened his mouth. Human Emperor's Palace. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, his body splattered into blood. The others did not know what was going on, but some people guessed that smiling San Sheng was related to the Human Emperor Palace. In the darkness, Jiang Hao stood at the edge of the river and looked up at the sky. He was about to leave the place in an instant. Suddenly, the gaze of the fallen immortal clan disappeared. It was very abrupt. It was interrupted by something. Why? What? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Maybe because of Gui's curse, he did not know the details, but Gui's curses were not so powerful before. Even if it had such power, it might not be effective. But no matter what, he had gained some time, so he had to finish the mission. At the same time, he wanted to see what was going on with this path. He was not sure where he could go, but the path was there, and he had a method to see it. How much longer do we have to walk? Cheng Yuchen asked. Jiang Hao did not say anything. He could not give an answer. He also knew that disciple Cheng did not want an answer. She was just trying to fill the silence. There was nothing but the sound of water around them. Even their footsteps were difficult to hear. They walked silently and tried as much as they could to calm themselves. We should be there soon, Liao Jin said. He had said the same thing 3 times. He didn't know exactly when they would arrive. He was only trying to comfort the others. No one knew where the path ended. After some time, Jiang Hao felt that they were talking more and more to fill the silence. Whether they were familiar with each other or not, they were all talking to keep each other company. Occasionally, they would ask Jiang Hao some questions, and he would answer them. It was as if they felt more at ease when he talked to them. Along the way, Jiang Hao had been vigilant of his surroundings. He could not feel other things, but he could clearly feel the changes in the river. The sound of water grew louder. Moreover, the river that was a few meters wide had grown 30 meters wide. If they continued, it was hard to imagine what else they would encounter. Even Jiang Hao was a little afraid. In the face of such power, he still felt insignificant. The more he sensed it, the smaller he felt. The people behind him probably did not notice it. Otherwise, they would not dare to move forward. If he continued forward, it would be as if he had deliberately entered the endless darkness to be devoured. Suddenly, a human face rushed out of the river and bit Li Ertao. Jiang Hao drew his blade and slashed. Boom. He used the demonic sound slash. The attack chopped off the human face. Everyone was shocked, but they quickly began to defend themselves. As expected, many human faces began to attack. However, this time, it was different from before. The way they appeared was not so strange. However, everyone realized one thing. These human faces were all attacking Li Ertao. This time, it was even easier to deal with. So, they felt more confident. Along the way, they surrounded Li Ertao and deflected the attacks. However, the further they went, the attacks became fewer. Jiang Hao realized that since the river was so wide the faces were less clustered. It was as if he was facing an endless ocean. The path ahead was about to disappear. At that moment, Jiang Hao suddenly stopped. A stone tablet appeared in front of him. The people behind were also surprised. Jiang Hao lifted the lantern and illuminated the words on it. He saw some words on it. It read, "Passage to Heaven." Passage to Heaven? Zheng Shijiu was a little puzzled. There are more words below, Li Ertao said. Jiang Hao placed the lantern below and saw that it was dragon language. And at the end of the dragon language, there was a word, Shenyuan. After getting someone to copy the words, Jiang Hao used his divine appraisal power. Appraisal. Heaven Stone. When the heavenly extreme dream pearl was first created, it was a new world. The founder set up the Heaven Stone to inform the purpose of the future and also divided the new and old worlds. They also wrote down their philosophy: when the old world is filled with endless fighting, the door to the new world will open for you. The human emperor had stood here long ago. He wanted to leave a word behind, but in the end, he could only leave his name. Jiang Hao was a little surprised by the information. In front of him was a thing that was connected to the heavenly extreme dream pearl. Once one entered the dreaded place, it would be very difficult to come out. Jiang Hao walked to the Heaven Stone and wiped it with his hand. He wondered if he could get some bubbles. One had to know that this thing was a link between the old and new worlds. It was definitely not an ordinary thing. He realized that he could not wipe the stone tablet clean. It was as if he had not touched the stone tablet at all. There was only one possibility, and that was that the stone tablet was in the new world. There was no way to clean it. But now was not the time to go into the tablet. He had not obtained the Shenyuan sword yet, and he was not sure what help the immortal sect would provide. "It's done," Liao Jin immediately said. "Yes." Jiang Hao nodded. "Open your eyes." They had to leave this place. At the Human Emperor Palace, Bai Zhu, who had cast the curse, felt at ease. It was a feeling she had never felt before. It was as if heaven and earth were on her side and blessed her every way. She did not need to guess to know for sure that the Human Empress Palace was helping her. Moreover, the effect was not to be underestimated. "Hey, isn't that Bai Zhu? I finally found you," Bai Zhu said. "Wn Xiu." Bai Zhu laughed. She did not like these people. But sometimes, they could be useful. They were here to rescue her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1048. The people of the immortal sect can kill people in the dark. Senior, are you finally out? Bai Zhu stood up. Are they bringing us out? What is this place? Sai Cheng walked in while drinking his wine. There was a dragon egg in front of them. It was rather strange. This dragon egg belongs to a fellow disciple. I was planning to send it to him, Bai Zhu said. If these two seniors wanted it, there was nothing she could do. She could not refuse them. Once they attacked, the outcome would be the same. This dragon egg is not ordinary, said Sai Cheng as he walked to the dragon egg. It seems to be of great importance. Is it that important? Why don't we take it? Wn Xiu asked with a smile. That's fine. I can see who wants this dragon egg and what it can do. Sai Cheng nodded. Let's go then. Wn Xiu paused and looked at Bai Zhu. Can you let him take the egg out of here? No problem, Bai Zhu said without hesitation. She was happy to help since an expert was offering to take the dragon egg out of the palace. Sai Cheng did not say anything and took the dragon egg away. As for the other things there, he did not even look at them. Tell me who you want to give it to, Sai Cheng said. Jiang Hao, an inner disciple of the Cliff of Broken Hearts. The Heavenly Note Sect, said Bai Zhu. As soon as he finished speaking, Sai Cheng disappeared from where he was and left the Human Emperor's palace. Bai Zhu knew that these people must have passed the Human Emperor's test. Can you tell me what happened here? Wan Xiu asked. Your maidservant's cultivation is higher than mine. I don't think you have to worry about my intentions. Bai Zhu nodded. She was not worried at all. She was just at the Golden Core realm, after all. Qiao Yi lowered her head. She felt a little ashamed that her cultivation realm was useless even if it was higher. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the darkness. There was no sound of water. How do we get out now? Lu Dong asked. Follow me, Jiang Hao said as he walked a few steps back. The others followed him without hesitation. Unknowingly, they saw a light, but it was just starlight. At that moment, they were out of the lake's distorted space. They were now at the edge of the lake. Liao Jin and the others were delighted. Not only did they make it inside, but they also could find a way out. Jiang Hao lowered his head. He thought he could come out in just 6 steps, but it was 3 more than he expected. He had thought that he had made a mistake in his calculations, but when he came out, he realized that it was not wrong. The lake had expanded a lot. That should not have happened unless someone had pushed the trigger again. The only possibility was the fallen immortal clan. Aren't they afraid? Jiang Hao was puzzled. He was a little suspicious. Was it because the fallen immortal clan was not afraid, or did these people not know that this was the place of the heavenly extreme dream pearl? If they knew, why would they still dare to do this? Could it be that everything in the world was fake? Can we report to them now? Liao Jin asked. Jiang Hao came back to his senses and nodded calmly. Let's go. However, there was a problem. Should he report and hand the stone tablet over to the Heavenly Gate sect or his own sect? Jiang Hao did not think it was appropriate to hide such a thing, but it had been possible because of the lantern. He was afraid he would be asked to hand over the lantern and would never get it back. After hesitating for a moment, he used Myriad Nature Forest on the lantern. After getting someone to report everything, he entered the lake alone. After confirming that both lanterns could be used, he heaved a sigh of relief. The effect was not that good, but it was enough. He would tell the truth about its origins. He would then find the lantern bearer. His lantern would allow him to see more. The next morning, someone found him. It was already mid-April. They were from the Heavenly Note sect's law enforcement hall. It was not Liu Xingchen, but a senior brother guarding this place. His name was Sikong Tu. You found it, junior brother Jiang? Sikong Tu asked and took out a notebook. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. How did you guys get in? Sikong Tu asked. I used this. Jiang Hao took out a lantern. Sikong Tu took the lantern but could not see anything strange. He asked Jiang Hao what had happened. Jiang Hao explained everything truthfully. The latter nodded and returned the lantern to Jiang Hao. After that, he left. He asked Jiang Hao to wait here. Jiang Hao nodded. He did not plan to leave. He could not. 3 days later, the lantern bearer was taken into the lake. As for the Divine Feather sect, they were massacred. The ones who attacked were basically the demonic sects. Since the mission was over, he naturally had to take back what he needed. Some immortal sects sensed this and did not interfere. He allowed these people to kill each other. Even Jiang Hao, who had made a huge contribution, had been targeted by the Divine Feather sect. They vowed to make him pay the price sooner or later. At night, they would strike. Seeing that Jiang Hao was also from a demonic sect, people from the immortal sects did not lend a helping hand. However, Sichu Jian of the Black Heaven sect asked him to stay over for a night. He had met Sichu Jian at the mines for the first time. His cultivation realm had reached so high. He was just a few points short of making it to the primordial spirit realm. In the end, he expressed his gratitude but did not go. Instead, he let Li Ertao follow him. Sichu Jian was quite confused about Li Ertao. He did not know him at all. However, the other party was indeed a sect disciple. The next day, many Divine Feather sect members gathered in the forest. It was said that they were going to work together to target those who had slaughtered their people. Jiang Hao was not surprised to hear the news. When he went over last night, he found that many people from the immortal sects had also gone over. There were also many from the demonic sects. Everyone had an agreement. It seemed that there were many such people in the immortal sect. It made sense. The Divine Feather sect was a demonic sect, to begin with. The other demonic sects did not have to bear the burden. Even if they killed an immortal sect, they would not care. After another 3 days, the lantern bearer and his companions came out. Some of them were missing and some were injured. They gathered some people and planned to go in again. Jiang Hao did not have to do anything. He was just told to continue waiting. Perhaps he might be needed later. Jiang Hao did not mind. He had completed his mission. The reason he was kept here was most likely because of the lantern. While he was waiting, he suddenly heard the sound from the lake. When he got close to the lake, he realized that the lake was more than twice the size of it before. He could not delay. However, everything was not ready yet, and he could not enter. Jiang Hao, said a voice behind him. Jiang Hao was a little surprised because he had not sensed anyone approaching. He rarely fell into such a situation other than with Hong Yuye. He turned around. It was a man with messy hair and stubble. It was Sai Cheng of the Bright Moon sect. Why was he here? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.